What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, and we are continuing with the updated draft rankings because we are here in Combine Weekend, and oh my god, I'm about drooling at the side of my mouth from how much Combine football I've been able to take in this weekend, and my head is starting to hurt, and I'm recording this just between the break of the quarterbacks and wide receivers, and the tight ends are getting ready to run, so I decided, let's bring to you, originally I was going to do top 5. First time I did this, only to top 5, but I think right now, underrated draft class for wide receivers. We're going to be breaking down the top 10 wide receivers, plus a couple other guys that didn't even make it, that I think will have nice careers here in the NFL. So I will go from 10 to 6, and then we will break into our official top 5 players. So at number 10, we have Chad Hansen, the wide receiver from Cal, who I would say maybe hurt his draft stock as much as anyone could have from the wide receiver class. When he only ran a 4.53, everyone thought it was going to be, surprised. Everyone thought he was going to run actually a much faster time than what he did. Potential 4.4 range. Fell a little bit short there, but he looks a lot faster in football pads than what he is. And I think, he did gain a little bit of momentum forever. He was, a 5th, 6th round pick. I think Daniel Jeremiah is really the only guy, the lead guy that has him going as a potential 2nd rounder. I think with the combine and how well he tested, may slip to 3rd, 4th round, but I do think he will definitely be a nice wide receiver in the NFL. Great deep threat, even though the straight line speed's not necessarily there. Go number 9 is going to be Amara Darboh from Michigan. Tested very, very well. 6'2", 215 pounds. Ran a 4.45 40, as well as putting up 17 on the bench press. I saw a pro comparison of him on NFL.com as Mohamed Sanu, and I see a lot of those traits. He was the better of the two, I think, between him and Chasson for the Michigan wide receivers, and I think he, especially with that strong combine performance that he has put forward, probably has helped improve his draft stock maybe by upwards of a round. So I could see him being, again, a guy that slips in to the maybe bottom half of the 3rd round, but definitely had a very strong combine weekend for him. Go number 8 is a guy that actually didn't get to attend the combine, but still is a fairly big weapon, and one of the biggest weapons from college last year, and that is D.D. Westbrook coming in at number 8. In my original rankings, he was number 3. But times have changed. But D.D. Westbrook, pro comparison is Travis Benjamin / pretty much any burner. The only problem with D.D. Westbrook is really his measurables. It's going to be at his pro day. What does he actually measure? And right now he's listed as 6 feet tall, 176 pounds. If he comes in any lighter than that, that's the weight and durability thing's already a big concern for D.D. Westbrook. But I could see him, again, we saw some shocking measurements, especially with Jabril Peppers. A guy like D.D. Westbrook doesn't look like he's the tallest. Like, he could be a guy that comes in at like 5'10" and 7/8 or something like that. So it might actually will help him a lot if he does weigh in and come in at 6 feet tall and can be maybe 185, put on a couple pounds. But again, he's going to have a nice little test for his 40 top. It's going to be something to watch. If he can run low 4.4s, maybe creep into the 4.3s, he could certainly improve his stock from 8. But because he didn't get to attend the combine, we have to wait till the pro day. I have just had to put him here at number 8. Number 7 is Juju Smith-Schuster. I know we're talking about USC wide receivers is a little bit dirty as a Philadelphia Eagle fan, but Juju, I think personally, kind of fell a little bit short. Everyone was expecting him to, run in the 4.4s, but the pro comparison, I really see a lot of Laquan Treadwell, because I definitely said that name right. Laquan Treadwell in him. But the 4.54 40 that he ran, the 15 bench press, which is a little bit disappointing because, look at a lot of his tape at USC. He's an incredibly powerful wide receiver. Maybe the nastiest stiff arm since like an Andre Johnson that I have seen at the wide receiver position, but did not really improve his draft stock any. And, you see a lot of, the failure to get separation and a couple of the things that a lot of the wide receivers struggled with last year. Luckily, this year's wide receiver group was a lot faster than last year's was, but I think with that slow 40 time, it really, kind of approves of what everyone already thought about Juju Smith-Schuster was that he was lacking speed. And, some guys, we're going to talk about when we break into the top 5, actually, surprised a lot of people. Juju Smith-Schuster need to be that guy that surprised. And unfortunately, he didn't. So he's here at number 7. And then at number 6, falling out of my top 5, originally, I was going to do it because he did not have the best combine performance, I would say. And that is the wide receiver from Eastern Washington, Cooper Kupp, coming at number 6. Really, he's a tie for number 5. But, just to make it simpler, we'll just put him at number 6. 6'2", 198 pounds. Everyone thought for sure he could run in the 4.4s and really help his draft stock. Ran a 4.62. Very, very poor performance. Almost as bad of a performance as a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster in terms of, maybe not necessarily the straight line speed won't translate to how they actually play in pads, which is a big thing. Like, how many times is a wide receiver just running straight? It's not really a natural speed for them. It's not a great gauge, but 4.62 is not good. People are going to look at that and say, maybe he's not as good as we thought he was. Maybe he's not athletic as we thought he was, because he was a guy that a lot of scouts thought he would, surprise people with how athletic he is. But you look at his tape at Eastern Washington, it looks almost as good as anyone else from college. I guess the level of competition could be a question you arise, but that was no problem with Carson Wentz. He was a baller last year. At NFL.com, they give him a pro comparison of Jarvis Landry. Don't think he's as much of a slot. I think he can definitely find his home on the outside. But then again, with that 4.62, maybe that's not fast enough to break away from guys at the NFL level, more so than guys that were at the FCS level and stuff like that. But there you go, guys. Those are the 6 couple honorable mentions that I still like that I didn't really get to talk about. I do like Josh Reynolds. I like Kenny Golladay and Carlos Henderson. Those are 3 more wide receivers that didn't make the top 10 that I do think are going to be very nice. It would be nice mid to late round pickups here in the NFL draft. But now let's jump right into the top 5. All right, so now we're jumping into the top 5, and at number 5, we have maybe the most, it's not the flashiest thing that happened in the Combine, maybe the most impressive Combine performance on the offensive side of the ball, and it's Chris Godwin from Penn State. 5'11", 205 pounds. Pro comparison for him, myself, I gave him a Pierre Garçon, except he could play a little bit better on the outside with Garçon. Even back with his day with his Colts, he was always athletic, but it seems like now, especially with his, as he got older, now he's with the Washington Redskins, more of a slot guy, but a jack of all trades. That's what I think Godwin can do. He can play inside, he can play outside. Great looking hands. Great at locating the deep ball. A lot of people had pretty much the only concern around him was his speed. And look what he did at the Combine. Ran a 4.42, put up 19 on the bench press. Incredibly athletic. In his career at Penn State, 154 receptions, 2,400 yards, and 18 touchdowns. I'm all over Chris Godwin. I think he's mocked probably to be, like a 5th round pick. 5th, 6th round, like somewhere like that. I've seen somewhere as high as 3, but I think himself, that boy got himself potentially into late 2nd round, early 3rd round conversation for sure with an incredible Combine performance. Some people said he was coming at 6'1" though, so 5'11", and that's fringe for what you want for a starting outside guy, but for the most part, very impressive performance from Chris Godwin, and that's why we have bumped him up to number 5. But really, like I said, he's tied with Cooper Kupp as my number 5 guy, but just to make it a little bit easier, we put him at 5 and Kupp at 6. Moving on, number 4 is going to be Zay Jones, the wide receiver from East Carolina. 6'2", 202 pounds. Pro comparison for him is Michael Crabtree. They looked, his tape is very similar to what Michael Crabtree looked like at Texas Tech. Excellent hands, crisp route running. And the big question with Zay Jones, again, much like Godwin, did he have that top end speed? Did he have that breakaway speed? Was he going to be able to get separation at the next level? He went ahead and got himself a 4.45 at the Combine, really answering a lot of those questions about his speed. It certainly helped his draft stock. He's a guy I would not be shocked. I'd be surprised, but not shocked if someone ended up drafting him in the 1st round. If there's a run on wide receivers, I could see it. But more importantly, I think he's a lock to go in the 2nd round now. Put him also 15 on the bench press. And his stats in 2016, video game number-esque. 158 receptions, 1,700 yards, and 8 touchdowns for East Carolina. Caught a lot of balls. Will be perfect for a team like my Philadelphia Eagles. Exactly what we need. So I wouldn't be upset with that pick in the 2nd round if we decide to go maybe corner or something like that in the 1st round. But Zay Jones is a monster, had a dominating Senior Bowl, and had a very, very strong Combine as well. Also, I think he had the highest broad jump out of all the wide receivers too, with 133 inches. But he's there at number 4. Number 3. I hate to do this, but I think you kind of have to just at the given time. These guys are pretty much interchangeable, though. Number 3 and number 2 on what you want for a team, because one guy's strength is another guy's weakness and vice versa. So if you want an outside big body guy, you'd have, the guy that we're going to talk about at number 2. If you want a burner, deep threat, spread the field, you're going to have the guy that I have at number 2 at your number 2. But number 3 is going to be Mike Williams from Clemson, 6'3", 225 pounds. Did not run the 40 at the Combine, which is... obviously he's going to have to run it, and he'll run it at his pro day. He cited that he was exhausted, still fatigued from Clemson's late season, which I think that's a little questiony. Whereas a guy like Corey Davis, who didn't run it, had ankle injury, and he's going to have a private workout, I believe, before the Combine to get a 40 time out there. But some questions there. I mean, I think you have to run, especially when you're Mike Williams. If you want to be the consensus #1 wide receiver, you gotta go out there and ball at the combine. Show that fuck this. I'm faster than you guys think. I'm not like a Laquan Treadwell. I'm not slow as shit. I'm gonna come out and run a low 4.5 and solidify that I'm not obviously the tape. He's not a burner, but that he has still the speed to be able to get separation at the NFL level. Pro comparison on NFL.com was Plaxico Burress. That's a fair pro comparison. He's a red zone threat with great hands, but still a big question about his speed. But he is a first-round caliber wide receiver and is a starter day one, I believe, in the NFL. Combine did not participate in the 40, put up 15 on the bench press, and his stats in 2016, 98 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So obviously, you just really, if you want to try to over-critique him, just watch his championship game against Alabama. He made some incredible catches, some catches against guys that are also going to be seeing time as rookies in the NFL. He's making big-time plays, and he's definitely a big-time wide receiver. I think all three of these guys I'm going to talk about for the top three. Hell, all these guys, even Zay Jones. I think Zay Jones is fringe, but for sure the top three guys can be day one stars in the NFL. But if you are looking for the big-bodied guy, Mike Williams may come in at number 2 for you. But we have to talk about the man who, shocked the world, if you will, at the scouting combine at number 2, and that is John Ross from Washington, 5'11", 190 pounds. Pro comparison from him, Brandon Cooks. He's an absolute burner. He has good hands. Some of his catches, highlight reel ability level catches. I remember against Colorado, he made one of the most insane catches I've seen all year. Even my girlfriend, who was half paying attention to that game, when she got up, and was like, whoa, Jesus Christ, that guy is sick. And then what did he go ahead and do? 4.2 240, broke the record. If he was wearing the right kind of cleats, he would have got himself a fucking island. That's kind of bullshit. Hopefully Nike does something crazy to match that. But 4.22. If you want a burner, you're going to put him ahead of Mike Williams. He's now the burner. You always talk about guys, Deshaun Jackson, Will Fuller, guys that can get field separation. Burners, This guy is now the burner with the fastest 40-yard time. His stats, 2016, 81 receptions, 1,150 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Very good production. Really, the only problem with him is his route running. It looks solid. I see a couple, he actually has pretty solid route running in the red zone, but it's more so in the open field. Limited route tree kind of thing, but I do think John Ross certainly helped improve his draft stock. You don't want to give him just because he ran the top 40. Oh, he's clearly now better than Mike Williams. But I think now with the fact that he is the fastest and everyone's got to take note in the NFL, it's just about what you need in your scheme. You're the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you're any of those other teams that already have that big-bodied wide receiver and you need that guy to come in that could be the burner, you're going to certainly value a guy like John Ross more so than a guy like Mike Williams. So it's about preferential. Really, Mike Williams and John Ross can interchange here for the number 2 and number 3 spot. But the number 1 wide receiver still stays the same on my list. It is Corey Davis from Western Michigan, 6'3", 215 pounds. Pro comparison I had in rankings 1.0. was T.O. Still got to stay with T.O. You see a lot of similarities between him and what T.O. looked like in the earlier days with the San Francisco 49ers. He has good hands, good route running, good speed. Really, the only question, he really ticks off all the boxes that you look for in a wide receiver. The only question could be is, the level of competition that he faced at Western Michigan. But I mean, the fact he broke Greg Jennings' fucking records. G-Reg with the, not the G-Reg with the 3 legs, but he's the G-Reg that put the team on his back, though. So, great company there. And I think Corey Davis is going to be absolute stud day one here in the NFL. Did not participate in the combine, as I said earlier. Had an ankle injury. He's going to have a private workout before the draft to get some measurables out there. But his stats in 2016 in particular, 97 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 19 receiving touchdowns. So I really think, between Davis, Ross, and Mike Williams, for pretty much the whole scouting process, I guess you would call this scouting, those 3 guys are all interchangeable depending on what you want. But for me, still with the edge is Corey Davis. But I mean, some teams are gonna fall in love with John. Like if Al Davis was still in the league, John Ross, they would have fucking moved the whole farm. Wouldn't be surprised if they would have traded Derek Carr to come up and get John Ross, just to say they had the 40-yard dash champ on their team. But those right now, guys, are my top 5 rankings. 2.0, the final rankings that I am releasing here on Beast Mode TV. Just a couple of awards here. So for the most NFL ready, I have it as Corey Davis. Highest potential, Corey Davis. My 2 sleepers are Josh Reynolds from Texas A&M and Kenny Galladay from Northern Illinois, I believe, was where he came from. He looked good. Bust, I still kind of have it as Curtis Samuel. That's kind of harsh. He did run a really good 40. I think a 4.31 was his official time. But more so, I just hate him. And same goes with Cam Robinson. Just what position am I going to play? I have to put him here because he may not, he's going to fit in that Percy Harvin mold. And Percy Harvin got played out. Percy Harvin had like 2 good years, and every other year at that, you have to find like the right offense. He has to go to the right team that can utilize him. And if he goes to the wrong team and they try to force that triangle peg into a square hole, you might have some trouble there with Curtis Samuel. So I don't want to come too hard on him, because I think if he goes to the right team, he could be an absolute playmaker. But I think there's so much uncertainty. If he goes to a team that will just refuse to use him in the right way, you're going to invest in high pick in him, and you're not going to maximize his potential by utilizing his strengths. And then to finish up with the guys that improved their draft stock most from the scouting combine, obviously you have to give John Ross breaking the 40-yard dash record, and Chris Godwin, who most people thought he was going to run like a 4.6, ended up putting a 4.42 up on the board. So let me know what you guys think about my wide receiver rankings in the comment section below if you agree or disagree. If this is your first time stopping by on Beast Mode TV, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.